Alright Mets fans, it seems like the time has finally come to talk about, is your team getting better or worse? A lot of the consensus online, or even Mets Twitter and things like that, people are complaining about your team not becoming better than the 2022 season. I think that's a ridiculous thought, and yes, in plain and short and simple, they did get better, 100%. Now, is the team going to go out there and win another 101 win season? I don't know. That's for the Mets themselves to decide, and injuries of course play a part in that. And also it really depends if the people that was really producing last year on your lineup produces the same type of value this year. Do I think this roster is a lot better? Yes. You guys got rid of McCann. He got shredded. He's going to the O's. You got another bat this morning actually with Tommy Pham, which is going to be your fourth outfielder, and he's going to be on your bench. Tommy Pham, don't forget, Tommy Pham is a pretty good hitter. He signed with the Reds, had a very selfless role last year. He kind of built himself back up again. Then he got traded to Boston. Last year, Tommy Pham on both teams batted in 89 runs. He had 63 RBIs, and he had 17 homers while being in a fourth outfielder role. That is not bad for someone that you just picked up on a really cheap deal, by the way, and someone that's just going to fill your left outfield role when, you know, someone needs a break or things like that. It's literally only a $6 million contract for Pham. You guys also picked up another catcher, Omar Narvaez. Narvaez has had a really underrated, you know, career so far. In 2019, he definitely mashed the ball. Of course, balls were a little bit juiced back then, but he was also an all-star in 2021. The dude has had a career average around a 258, a 343 OBP, and a 386 slug. That is not bad. I mean, last year he had a really down year. That's because he wasn't playing catcher the whole time while he was with the Brute Crew, man. Last year, in 262 at-bats, he was a 206 batting average, a 292 OBP, and a 305 slug. A very bad year for his standards, but Narvaez is someone that actually bridges the gap between him and Francisco Alvarez. Francisco Alvarez is Venezuelan as well as Omar Narvaez. Omar Narvaez is just that vet to help Francisco Alvarez become Francisco Alvarez. He's the dude that is expected to become this next big prospect for the Mets. He's going to be the masher. He's going to be the guy that hits for pop. He's going to have that Pete Alonso pop, man. Francisco Alvarez needs to become that Rookie of the Year candidate. How's Francisco Alvarez going to start at the beginning of the season? I don't know. People think he is going to. I think he's not. I think a big reason why you guys actually picked up Omar Narvaez is to give Francisco Alvarez a little bit more time in the minors and actually just bring him up, probably bring someone down, and, you know, have that be its thing. Also, you guys did pick up some underrated signings like Tim Locastro. Tim Locastro was a speed demon for the Yankees, if you guys did not know. Tim Locastro, yes, he doesn't get enough options when he gets to play left field or outfield, but he is a really good speed option. He's someone that is constantly stealing bases. He had a very high base rate last season. He was only caught about 2 times out of like 20 plus steals. It was insane. He was someone that's really good. He's someone that, you know, late into a game in the playoffs, he will steal that base so you could move a runner over and not force a double play. It's something simple like that that actually goes a long way for your guys' roster. Now, so before we get into why I think the Mets actually have gotten a lot better, I don't think people realize how good they have gotten, please leave a like and subscribe, and let's get into it. The big actual upgrades were in your starting rotation. You guys picked up Justin Verlander after losing Jacob deGrom. That is a, you know, 1-to-1 upgrade to a sense. Justin Verlander is someone that's just coming off a Cy Young season, a Hall of Fame pitcher, and someone that actually has proved himself all his years of his career. He came back from Tommy John surgery and just became an all-star pitcher again. This guy was considering retiring when he was going through his Tommy John surgery process, but instead he came back and had a Cy Young season. That is insane for someone that's almost 40 years old. Justin Verlander is an amazing pitcher. He's a co-ace alongside Max Scherzer. I think it's a perfect duo. Also, you guys still have Kodai Senga that you guys signed as well, and Jose Quintana, which seems to be going under the radar for a lot of people. Jose Quintana was really solid for St. Louis last season, and yes, he did get traded at the deadline from the Pirates, and he actually rebuilt his credibility in the league, and I think his versatility and his pitching will just do your team really well as your 5th starter. That is insane for 5th starter. Also, the wild card is Kodai Senga, which is your 3rd starter. Kodai Senga made a video on when he first got announced in the Mets because he's someone that just made sense for the Mets. He kind of gives me a little bit of Tanaka vibes with the Yankees. He's someone that the Mets can rely on. He's someone that has a lot of upside and not a lot of downside. At most, he might be a sub 3.5 ERA pitcher or something like that, right? He might not be an ace caliber pitcher that he's projected to become. His upside is very heavy in the league. I think Kodai Senga has a lot of potential. He still has that ghost forkball that not a lot, I mean, everyone talks about, but hasn't really been talked about a lot because he signed so long ago, December 2022. It's now January 18th. It's insane to think that someone like Kodai Senga signed with the Mets. Also, it's a good topic to discuss that, hey, Kodai Senga signing with the Mets means Shohei Ohtani going to the Mets is more likely. Now, that's a whole nother topic to discuss if Shohei Ohtani does end up going to the Mets. I mean, you don't need to worry about your DH role anymore. You could still have him platoon with Vogelback at that point. You don't need Carlos Carrasco. I mean, hey, Cookie is a really good starter, don't get me wrong. I think he's important for this roster, but if you're getting someone like Shohei Ohtani, you're probably getting rid of Carrasco to a point. Now, I think it's still one of the glooming issues is still having Darren Ruff. Darren Ruff had a really bad season after he got traded to the Mets. It's no surprise that someone like Frank the Tank loves to talk bad about Darren Ruff because Darren Ruff costed him his whole season. But I think it's safe to say that this team had a really good season last year. If you really break it down, right? The Mets won 101 games and lost 61 games. That is not bad for a team that just a couple years ago were barely fighting for the playoffs. I think it's really important to think that the Mets played really good baseball. And yes, the Braves ended up beating them and they kind of choked in the last month or two. But the Braves just played insane at baseball. If you really want to break it down, they played at an unbelievable margin when they came back June, July, and things like that. The Mets were projected to win. They should have won, but the Braves just played literal insane baseball, and at the end of the day, that's just what happened. I think the Mets have an amazing chance next year. Yes, the NL East is going to be very competitive. Trey Turner's now a Philly. The Braves picked up Sean Murphy. The Braves are going to be healthy next year. The Mets are going to be even more healthy next year. I think a lot of the teams in the NL East are going to be scared. I mean, you got the Marlins and Nationals. I don't see them as competitors at all. The Phillies might not be competitors for the first couple of months just because they're not going to have Bryce Harper, but they're still going to have people like Trey Turner and some of the all-stars that actually even got them to the World Series last year. You're gonna have Kyle Schwarber, you're gonna have people like that. I think this competition is gonna be really tense, and I'm just excited to see it in general. Also, I forgot to mention that you guys did pick up some bullpen pieces. You got Brooks Raley in a trade, not a bad bullpen piece. David Robinson pitched for the Phils in the World Series. A really good piece was on the Yankees at one point. I really like him personally. And yeah, you guys still re-signed Adam Ottavino as well. You guys have a very good bullpen. Yes, you guys did end up losing Seth Lugo, but that's okay. You replaced them with Brooks Raley and David Robertson. That's not bad. It's something that just happens in all the MLB. I honestly think this Mets team has gotten better, and I really like it. I'm looking forward to spring training. I want to see Kodai Senga pitch. I want to see Jose Quintana pitch for the Mets. I want to see how someone like Omar Narvaez ends up hitting. I want to see how Tommy Pham fits into this fourth outfielder role. It's going to be really exciting to see these guys come spring training in like literally a month, guys. Spring training is in a month. Games start the 24th. I think the first game is like a Rangers game, which is kind of funny because DeGrom went to the Rangers. But spring training starts in like 35 days or 30 days. Pitchers and catching starts in like 28 days. So it's gonna be really fun come springtime, and definitely subscribe and leave a like for all baseball content. I'm going to be doing a lot when it comes to spring training. Maybe I'll do a profile projection or something like that for all the teams come spring training, and we'll go from there. And then the baseball season starts and content will be pushed out like that, and I can only thank you guys for helping me get this far, so I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. If you guys like this type of content, like I said, just leave a like and subscribe, and